And the second organization that was recognized is Pillsbury United Communities. And Pillsbury United Communities is also a long-time partner with the Minneapolis Employment and Training Division, delivering a wide range of career supports in our community and striving to
Saeed, did you stop talking or did we lose you?
I think we might have lost him.
Okay, so while he might be getting back on, I'm going to apologize to everyone and just inform you, I'm just starting the transcription now. I'm starting the recording. You know, we do record these monthly Twin Cities immigration forums, and maybe just a little bit too.
I got disconnected.
There you are. Wonderful. Thank you, Saeed. Go ahead. I was just saying that we just started our recording, so go ahead.
Yes, and the second organization is Pillsbury United Communities, which is a partner with the Minneapolis Employment and Training Division. And it delivers a range of careers that support in the community. And one of the areas that they have initiated is a promising program for BIPOC youth and young adults in collaboration with the National Hair Care Institute, and supported by funding from our Minneapolis Youth Work Program and Career Pathway Program. In natural hair equipment, participants with the skill necessary for careers in natural hair care and braiding. So through this program, individuals of a BIPOC youth and young adults have gained access to training, certifications, and opportunities for placement into careers with a targeted wage of $30 per hour. There has been a number of community members that has graduated in this program. So those are the two issues that I'd like to update with the group. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Saeed, for sharing that information. And people may or may not know you. If you don't mind identifying, obviously I know he's a colleague at the City of Minneapolis. If you don't mind identifying yourself again in your role here at the City of Minneapolis. Are you still there?
Michelle, yes, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Yep, if you could just identify your role at the City of Minneapolis for folks who may not be familiar with you and your work here at the city.
Oh, I'm sorry that I did not do a proper introduction of myself initially. My name is Saeed Bihi, and I work for City of Minneapolis Community Planning and Economic Development, and I manage Cedar Riverside Opportunity Center.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Saeed. I don't know if you're able to, but if you would want to put your contact information in the chat, if people have questions, feel free to raise your hand or ask Saeed a question. Otherwise, if you'd like to follow up with Saeed offline, if he's able to put his contact information in the chat, we can do so. Thank you for that update.
I will do so. I will put my information in the chat room. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I'll just share a couple of additional City of Minneapolis updates before our next topic. Yesterday, the City of Minneapolis received designation as a child-friendly city, the second city in the nation to receive this designation from UNICEF, which recognizes our work to advance child rights and shows our commitment to eliminating discrimination against children through local government policies and actions. We're very thrilled at receiving this designation from UNICEF. This does mark a beginning, not an end, and certainly more work to do as we now embark on a 3-year journey to implement a plan. So this work fosters inclusive participation through child and youth councils, involves a thorough assessment of community, a detailed local plan, and an implementation of the plan. I'll put a link in the chat where people can learn more. And we invite individuals to reach out to the health department or the Minneapolis Youth Coordinating Board which are the two entities primarily responsible for the work around receiving this wonderful designation and also the implementation that's to come. So one last thing I wanted to share, in case you're interested in learning more about child-friendly cities, is the Community Connections Conference, which is this Saturday, just 2 days away. It's the largest event hosted by the city to bring city to community and community to the city. It's an all-day long free event with a number of exhibitors, with a number of workshops and a variety of different topics, including this year renters' rights, voting, and in the afternoon, there will be a community conversation focused on community safety, led by Child Friendly Cities Initiative participants and and facilitated by Youth Coordinating Board. So promises to be a very exciting day from 9 to 4. I'll put the link in the chat so folks can register. Please feel free to register. You can do it same day, but registration in advance does make things more easy as people are navigating through the day. It's at the Minneapolis Convention Center this Saturday, February 17th. I just want to give a shout out to all the people who are here, who are going to be exhibiting, all the individuals who have signed up to volunteer. It's really exciting and very rewarding, and volunteers really make the conference a success every year. So thank you very much. And with that, I will turn it to Edmundo while I populate the chat with some of these links.
Thanks, Michelle. I don't know, I lost you guys for a little bit. I'm glad I'm back on. So with that, today we wanted to focus on workforce development, given the large numbers of new arrivals from the southern border, as well as the many individuals born outside the United States or in Minnesota looking for employment, and the fact that Minnesota has an employee shortage. We thought it would be a good topic for us early in the year to discuss workforce development and some of the resources that are available here with the state for helping employers to hire new workers. And with that, we thought we'd have Michelle Garnett McKenzie, the Deputy Director for Advocates for Human Rights, join us and set the stage for us discussing some of the folks that are here who are recently arrived and the needs of that community and what the legal service providers are doing to help those folks get employment authorization. So Michelle,
sure.
Thanks for joining
us. Thanks so much, and it's good to be here. We will also be at the Saturday event, so if you want to stop by and see us there, we'll be there all day. So thanks, Michelle, for shouting that out. As Edmundo said, I'm at the Advocates for Human Rights, and part of our work really focuses on ensuring that people can thrive, live with dignity, and fully participate in their families and communities, regardless of where they were born. And that mission is really critical today as we see more and more people on the move. Just to kind of put in context, we know there are a lot of people moving right now. 1 in 30 people worldwide is a migrant living outside their country of nationality or last habitual residence. That means there's 280 million migrants worldwide at any given time right now, and that's about 3.5% of the global population. That's a pretty standard, stable percentage, but there are more people in the world, and we're seeing that here in the US as more and more people move. And I put it in this context because we think of migration as such a, often stressful or forced or, problematic behavior to be managed. And it's really just what people do, right? That's what we do as human beings. But we are seeing lots and lots of folks on the move, partly out of fear of where they, of conditions in the place that they live. And we've seen a really kind of sharp rise in the number of people seeking asylum in the US and in our region. Again, just a little context, more than 5% of Colombia's population came from Venezuela in the last 10 to 15 years. 5% of Costa Rica's population is currently seeking asylum and has been since 2018. There are more than 150,000 people applying for asylum in Mexico last year. So this is certainly something that we're seeing regionally as well as locally. But we are seeing it here, and it's not surprising. There's 5.5 million asylum seekers worldwide. That means 5.5 million people who are in migration, trying to get recognized as a person who has a well-founded fear of persecution on account of their race or religion or nationality or social group or political opinion. They're afraid of persecution in their home country on account of their identity. And in Minnesota, we've seen a real uptick in the numbers of folks who are coming to our community, either directly from asylum applications started at the U.S.-Mexico border, or via other cities where they've gone after being released. And I know Michelle and Edmundo have been giving updates around those numbers for the last year plus on new arrivals here. The immigration court backlog numbers are really kind of a telling indicator of the numbers of new arrivals. And right now we have more than 3 million cases backlogged in the immigration court system. That averages out to more than 4,500 cases per judge. So it's a lot. And in Minnesota, we have over 38, closing in on 39,000 pending cases. Cases pending in immigration court have been going up because of numbers of new arrivals, as well as continued immigration enforcement. And it means that everyone in that process is is awaiting or hoping to be granted asylum or some other way to stay here. But they're in limbo. That decision isn't solid, it isn't made. And many of those folks are in the process of, because they're in the process of seeking asylum, may not have work authorization, but some are getting work authorized. And you see with these numbers, as people are granted permanent status, they're going to be enriching our workforce community. As we've seen the large rise in the number of folks in the immigration system and here, immigration legal representation rates nationwide correspondingly have gone down. We haven't seen the growth in the number of people who are able to provide immigration legal help. So nationwide rates have gone from 65% down to 30%. And that's a real concern. And so I'm really excited. I see, I think Jenny Stoll-Powell is here from Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. There she is, coming on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny, I don't know if you want to announce, but Marissa Hildongary is also here from RPO. The launch of really, some new capacity we hope to be providing access to triage and brief advice immigration legal services much more quickly and where people need them as they're trying to get into free immigration legal services. Jenny, do you want to just, or Marissa, give a little bit of a thumbnail of the hub that is launching this week? Otherwise, I can.
I'll just say a few words. You can fill in, Marissa and Michelle. We basically are starting a new project to really coordinate among some of the legal service providers to increase service delivery, as Michelle described. This is new money available through the state, the New Americans funding. The initial funding is for capacity building and really building out an infrastructure to improve coordination, referrals, and improve access. I know that everyone wishes this had happened yesterday or, last month. So please bear with us through this process. It will take time. We're trying to be very thoughtful in how we design the services and to make them accessible and to also hopefully help stop some of the what we'd say is kind of that bounce from agency to agency, as part of that, as part of this process. So I'll leave it at that for now, but stay tuned. Michelle, Marissa, feel free to add.
Yeah, we're just really thrilled. It's, I think, a transformational time for our free legal services and low income serving immigration legal services community to be more accessible and have our help when and where it's needed, as well as providing long-term legal representation in complex cases. So it is a statewide effort, and it's, as Jenny said, going to be slowly but thoughtfully designed, but starting a lot with more access to walk-in legal clinics, and those will be able to be found. We'll be sharing that through this network and others, where you can find the schedules and get in touch to get things scheduled as well. Anything else you needed from me, Edmundo, before we move into other Indeed workforce stuff?
You muted. Estás muteado.
Now I got to remember what I just said. Thank you, Michelle and Jenny and Marissa for being here. And I really appreciate it, because as legal services come online and people are able to get employment authorization, I think we're going to see a real need for more assistance in entering into the workforce, learning English, having, getting job skills. All those needs are going to come to the forefront. So I think this is an exciting time. So thank you. Any questions for Michelle or Jenny or Marissa? If not, we can move on to our representatives from DEED, who are here to talk about the various programs that are available. Why don't we start with Tim O'Neill. Tim is a regional labor market analyst with DEED, and he's here to talk to us a little bit about the numbers in Minnesota. Welcome, Tim.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Tim O'Neill. I'm with the Labor Market Information Office with the Department of Employment and Economic Development. I do have some slides, but I think I'll just send them off, and then you can look at them for fun over the coming weekend here. And then maybe that can spark some ideas and curiosities and concerns and all of that for the type of data that we do collect, and what it can tell us, and how you can use this data going forward with whatever endeavors that you've got going on. I did set a little timer, so I won't go past. If you've ever seen me present before, I could talk on labor market data for a while. But our office is collecting constantly data on like labor force trends, industry trends, occupational information, wages, cost of living, educational attainment data, and so forth. And we can get some information too on the foreign-born population, which immigrants and refugees would fall within when we're looking at total labor force trends and industry trends and occupational data. So it's just kind of nice to know what's going on with the state of Minnesota, what's going on with the 7-county metro, which is the region that I cover. And then how do foreign-born populations, immigrants and refugees fit within the trends that we see within those areas. So just to kind of give you a really brief overview of, I've already given you a brief overview of the data that we provide, and you can reach out anytime. I put my email in the chat, so you can reach out to me, and I can be a relay for you to reach out to others within our office, like Angelina Wen, our director, Orion Casala, our assistant director, others within the department, which you'll be hearing more from later, some of the leadership there, but then others that we work with as well, such as MDH's Resettlement Programs Office. But the other thing then too, beyond just answering the little questions and the big questions about Minnesota's labor market and economy, if I was to give a brief overview, we are still seeing really tight labor market conditions. So we have really low unemployment across the 7-county metro, the state of Minnesota. We have a really high number of job openings. And so when we combine those two numbers, we have tight labor market conditions. So to give you the specifics, and I won't go into the weeds too much, but the metro area was at a 2.3% unemployment rate. That represents about 39,000 unemployed. And then we have about 98 to 100,000 job openings. And so again, when we combine those two, it's about 0.4 unemployed persons for every job opening. So that's where employers are really looking for workers right now. Of course, there are still challenges when it comes to looking for work, employment barriers, employment disparities. We could look at this by race and ethnicity, seeing where unemployment rates are higher, where there might be challenges that persist with affordable housing, transportation, childcare, and other important pillars of life and work and living and such. But yeah, overall, tight labor market conditions. And then we can also look at, beyond that, just the overall labor force size in the state of Minnesota and the 7-county metro. We're seeing that we're down when we're looking at the statistics in our labor force, for example, in the 7-county metro, down about 37,300 workers. And so when you're looking at really low unemployment, really high number of job openings, the labor force size is down. That's where we can really start to look at the importance, the vital importance, and the increasing growth of immigrants and the foreign-born population in the 7-county metro in Minnesota, and just how important that is. So again, you can just reach out to us for some of these vital statistics and these key takeaways when it comes to these kinds of data. Last kind of section here that I'll talk upon is looking at foreign-born statistics and trends. Again, I'll pass you off some slides so you can look at some of this visually, which I think is the best way of doing labor market data and such. But looking at my notes here, the 7-county metro overall did witness a population decline of about 13,900 over the past 2 years of available data. And a lot of that was due to decreases in domestic migration patterns. So we saw more people leaving Minnesota than more people leaving Minnesota to go to other states than are coming into Minnesota from other states. But we make up for that a little bit with the influx of international immigration. So we had about 14,100 or so international immigrants come into the state of Minnesota over the past 2 years. So we can already start to see the connections here with addressing the labor shortage in the state of Minnesota and in the 7-county metro. My timer went off, so the last couple of things I'll say here what the stats are. Total foreign-born population in the 7-county metro at about 378,000 persons. In 2022, that makes up about 12% of the 7-county metro's total population, which is a little bit higher than Minnesota's. It's about 8.5% in Minnesota. Where the 7-county metro makes up about 55% of the state's total population, it makes up about 78% of the state's total foreign-born population. And then with the stats that we have that we can look into growth of the foreign-born population here coming from other regions of the world. We're seeing the fastest growth, for instance, the most significant growth from Eastern Africa, Southeastern Asia, South Central Asia, and Western Africa. And then I think the last thing I'll say, we did see this population, overall foreign-born population, grow by about 29.3% between 2010 and 2022, equivalent to about 86,000 persons. That 29.3%, significantly faster than the overall population growth in the metro at 10.5%. And then finally, the last thing I'll say is that the foreign-born population, again, this includes immigrants and refugees that are coming into the area, significantly younger than the native white population, for example, or the total population, for example. So just two more key takeaways. We see that the share of foreign-born persons in the metro in the prime working age group, or those between 25 and 54, 62% of the foreign-born population falls within that age cohort, compared to about 41% for the total population. And so this is that population that's ready and willing and able to work. And so any initiatives that you're doing, endeavors to help out folks that are coming into Minnesota, into the metro, to help them with educational attainment or certifications or career entry points and career pathways, transportation, childcare, housing, all of that kind of revolves around one another. And I know you already know that, but our data shows that too. So keep up the great work that you're doing. It really does show up in the labor market data that we collect. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions for Tim?
I have a question. Hi, Edmundo.
Hi.
This is Lillian Otieno with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, Emerging Farmers Office. Tim, I was interested in the occupations, and I know you're going to send your slides, and I'll take a look at them. But I'm just kind of wondering if you have an idea on the occupations that the highest occupations that most new Americans or immigrants actually probably have indicated that, occupations that they actually have gone into. And I'm more particularly interested in agriculture, just to kind of see whether that's a viable economic opportunity for most new Americans coming into the state.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Tim.
And I was muted. While you were speaking, I was pulling up a table off to the right, pulling up some occupational data. So I can send that your way too. I'll put it in the chat here. But we do have a list of, those occupations that we find higher shares of foreign-born persons, immigrants working within. And just looking at the list here, at the very top, home health and personal care aides, software developers, janitors and cleaners, laborers and freight stock and material movers, registered nurses, accountants and auditors. So we can already see in the top, so many that I listed there, quite a wide variety of entry points, educational attainment requirements, and wages. So I'll send that link.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for all this information. Very, very useful, helpful. Next, we'd like to turn to Commissioner Abdiwahab Mohammed, Assistant Commissioner for DEED, also the Director of the Office of New Americans for the state. Welcome, Commissioner Mohammed. How are you? Good to see you.
Thank you, Edmundo. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. Great work, everyone who's presented before me. I love that this session is focused on workforce. That is one of the key areas that will help our new Minnesotans to get family-sustaining jobs, get and integrate into the economy. So I appreciate the two of you for planning this session. I know we don't have much time, but I'll try to run a few points here, kind of introduce what the office is for those of you who have not had the opportunity to work with us, and then what DEED in general has been doing, kind of a big overview on the workforce development at the state, and how can we leverage those resources to serve the new Americans in Minnesota. So again, my name is Abdiwahab Mohammed. I served in this role since September 2022. Sorry, kind of trying to forget that. But we had this office funded through the state legislature since July 1st, 2023. And we are expanding right now, hiring the first person, and then you will continue to provide more services in general. But our biggest chunk of work will be mostly on collaboration, interagency work to get some of the services that the community needs. And one of those is workforce development. So even though we are housed within DEED, we work with everyone at DEED to make sure that folks get the workforce services that they need. Of course, there's always barriers, and this office's main role is to see if we can make structural changes, long-term changes into our workforce systems so that we can serve the communities that we need. We have no shortage of resources for workforce services. We just need to figure out how we can expand those resources. We have done it before. We've done it with the driver license for all. We have done it with other policies, to expand the eligibility for those. And so for those of you who've been working in this area, especially in the legal services, a lot of the resources we have for workforce development. Most of the folks that still do not have employment authorization document are not eligible. And this is because there's a couple of policies that we might not have to go into the details on it, but it comes down to the reporting piece of it. DOL, Department of Labor, that funds most of the workforce development funds, does require to show that anybody who goes through the training process is hired or gets hired, makes more money than they were making before they started the program, and can retain that for several quarters, and then they become a successful graduate of the training programs. And most of the almost all our partners have to meet those requirements to get the funding for the continuous years. The same thing for the state. You would see there's the Minnesota Statute 116L.98. I think that's what it is. That specifically outlines the workforce program outcomes, and it requires, the training programs that's funded by DEED to show a successful graduation to employment for folks that have been getting those careers, job services. So those are what kind of been happening in the service of our workforce development for now. Again, we have a lot of our community members that have been doing the work to expand those services, and we appreciate that work, but that's where we are right now. Other than that, the area of the employment authorization, there are other barriers that folks face, like language, for example. We looked into that. We have a language access plan that we're rolling out by the end of the year, that we will hope will be a model for everyone else in the state to kind of implement. That will tell us, how to implement some of the language access policies that we have. And then housing is another issue. In greater Minnesota, some of the people who've been looking for jobs are not staying within the metro area because of the housing and the transportation piece of it. Even though we had driver license for all, but also it takes some time for the person to purchase a car and drive to 30-40 minutes to a job that's outside the metro area where most of the buses are accessible through bus. So childcare has been another issue that we've had. I'm glad that we have the Office of Childcare right now within DEED that has actually some grants out until March 12th for any childcare business that is expanding to get more to receive more intake in order to reduce the childcare shortage. So that's one of the grants I wanted to highlight for anyone who knows those childcare institutions that want to address the childcare shortage. And of course, there's other cultural, religious acceptance, and we do those through employer outreach and some of the work that Michelle and Emily have done, and especially City of Minneapolis for hosting employers to come. I think Marisa was part of that panel as well. That kind of a program will help really get into the employers and kind of attract these new talent that's coming to our state. Another issue that we've been discussing is the credits for prior learning and credential work for those who are bringing in some of the skills that they want to use. And on that, we still have some more work to do, but that's one of the initiatives that this office will be working on. So again, going back in general, we have Title I, Title II, Title III, WIOA adults, dislocated workers, Wagner-Pfizer, vocational rehab services. Those are all resources that we get from the federal government to do this training. There's been several of our career force locations that have been referring folks as they come in to seek employment resources to also access the adult basic education through our Department of Education. And that is something that will really help folks get, to prepare for the employment authorization as they wait for the 180 days. Again, we have done some employer outreach. We have done some capacity building for legal services as we wait for DHS to, roll out the legal services contracts that we're waiting for. And so this will train some of the Department of Justice trained or accredited reps to start taking up employment authorization cases. We've partnered with Clinic to provide EAD specific training for DOJ reps, and those are available. If you want more information, you can reach out to me. And other than that, what are the deed funds that we got from the last legislative session that are now out there that we're hoping to reduce the barriers out there? As a start, there's the $50 million targeted population grant to support employment services for those who have been overlooked, underserved populations. I think the first round was out, and then there's another round that we expect this year. We have announced those folks that are implementing that targeted population grant. Then, of course, there's the Drive for 5 grants that are preparing the workforce to enter into the 5 most crucial occupations in the state, and so people can get family-sustaining job wages in those 5 key industries. And then, of course, we're trying to supplement some of the federal funding and see where we can use those funds for workforce development. For example, there's the Minnesota Forward Fund. That's about $250 million, which will fund which will match the federal funds in the CHIPS Act and create some sort of a support for employers as they attract workforce into those key areas. So with those resources that are there, and we'll say we're in a good place to support the new arrivals as they come in and get the employment authorization, to fast track them to these industries that are that have high paying wages. And so that's what the office will do. We will do a lot of interagency work. We have partners within the Department of Human Services, DLI, that do a lot of the youth programs, apprenticeship programs. We have some of those funds available for them from the state legislature as well. But the key is to bring together state resources and focus on workforce development for new arrivals, and of course for those who have already been here for a while. I think with those few remarks, I'll just stop and take questions.
Thank you, Assistant Commissioner. Are any questions for Commissioner Mohammed on any of the grant opportunities or any information or places? One question is, Commissioner Mohammed, is where can people learn more about these grant opportunities? Is there a website, or is there somewhere they can someone they can contact about learning what opportunities are available?
Thank you. That's a great question. I posted the link for deeds, contracts and grants. You will see the Child Care Economic Development grants over there, and then there's the Clean Economy Equitable Workforce Grant that's also out there. We constantly update that. There's 2 other funds for the targeted populations. This call couldn't have come at a better time when we have these specific grants for underserved communities of color, low-income communities, including New Americans. So there's the capacity building grant, and then there is the DEI component for small employers. If you are a company or a nonprofit that does DEI training for employers, this is one of the unique funds that you could tap into to continue the work and address those cultural, religious barriers that the New Americans face in the workforce. And so this is a great resource, and please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions on those grants, and we will connect you with the right folks that are managing those grants.
Thank you.
That's excellent. Yep. And Assistant Commissioner, if people may want to reach out directly, if there's a contact that that folks can reach you out, if you could put that into the chat as well, that would be super. And then basically, if folks have questions, please feel free to raise your hand or or just shout it out. But Edmundo and I did want to also remind folks about the excellent work that was done in collaboration with community that led to the Journey to Belonging in the Twin Cities report on immigrant and refugee inclusion initiatives. There was a focal area on economic and workforce development topics that really benefited from the contributions and insights, including of folks here in this space. So again, much gratitude to you for a document that continues to live from the standpoint of the work that we do in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and has really been a useful tool in conversations that people have been having around economic and workforce development and other immigrant and refugee inclusion strategies in the Twin Cities area and beyond. And I know, Edmundo, you're also sharing another link, so if you may want to touch on that briefly too.
Sure. I just wanted to let people know that the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, the State Chamber of Commerce, did an outstanding report on the economic contributions of immigrants in Minnesota. And I put that report in the chat. You might want to take a look at it. There's a lot of really good information that supports why immigrants make our economy so much stronger. And I think it's very valuable, especially with some of the narratives we hear about immigrants. I think this is really valuable information and counters a lot of the negative narratives that we hear in the media. And with that, any follow-up questions at all for either Tim or Assistant Commissioner Mohammed? As Michelle said, just feel free to either raise your hand or ask the question out loud.
Otherwise, we're going to keep moving because we want to make sure that there's time for community and other governmental updates, but also want to go through some quick immigration updates. So if there are questions, please raise your hand or put it in the chat. If there aren't questions, we will move on. And again, much gratitude to Tim and Abdiwahab, representatives from DEED, and to Michelle Garnett-McKenzie too from the Advocates for Human Rights. And others, Marissa, all for sharing information on this topic, and anticipate that this topic will be coming back again, either in this space or other spaces. And with that, I will turn to a few quick immigration updates. Want to make sure we have enough time for your updates as well. Get 3 updates. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has published a final fee rule that will apply for applications that were filed on April 1st, 2024 or later. This fee rule includes a number of fee increases for employment-based immigration and some naturalization, family-based applications. There are also some positive changes that impact individuals who are UNT applicants or victims of crime and trafficking, including some fee exemptions. So we'll share a link to that rule so people can explore a little further. A second update we want to share is Immigration and Customs Enforcement has published its annual report and a data dashboard. The report offers comprehensive information from 2023, and the data dashboard is a very dynamic, interactive website that you can explore regarding enforcement and removal operations data. So we'll share those in the chat as well. And finally, the Biden administration has announced deferred enforced departure for individuals from the Palestinian territories on February 14th. This announcement will mean that for the next 18 months, eligible individuals will not be deported to Palestine, and eligible Palestinians will also be able to apply for a work permit. As yet, a Federal Register notice has not been posted, but we'll be sharing updates on this topic. If folks have questions about deferred enforced departure, I'll just share briefly that this is a measure that the president can use to shield certain immigrants from being deported, and is used when it's not safe for folks to return to their home country. Individuals who qualify for DED can apply for a work permit once the Department of Homeland Security officially announces it in the Federal Register. It's estimated that nationwide, approximately 6,000 Palestinians would be eligible to benefit from the DED designation. And the main criteria to qualify is that a person have been continuously residing in the United States since February 14th, 2024. So we'll share some, thank you very much for putting that information in the chat. If you look at the USCIS website, deferred and forced departure, that's another way to receive updated information on that topic. Happy to answer questions. And if there are other time-sensitive immigration updates, I know we've got some lawyers on that people would like to share, please feel free to do so. And then the next topic is your updates. So other governmental and community updates. And I know a couple of folks had connected with us offline to indicate that they had updates that they wanted to share, and also saw a couple of things in the chat. If people may want to take a moment and talk about the update that you have to share, now is the time to do so. Please feel free to raise your hand.
Michelle, why don't we real quickly go back to Assistant Commissioner Mohammed. I see he had one other announcement he had wanted to mention and forgot to mention.
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Mohammed, if you want to make that real quickly. You're still here. If not, he was going to mention that the state of Minnesota's WIOA state plan is out for public comment, closing on Friday, February 16th. Oh, Commissioner Mohammed, you're back.
Oh, sorry. So this is every year the state has to have a plan that will include how we will use the federal funds to respond to the need within the state. I feel like this year we have a very comprehensive plan that includes, all communities. We have also specifically included New Americans there, but it's a short notice. The closing period is tomorrow, so feel free to head down there if there's anything that you feel should be more included in that in the plan. This is the time to do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, why don't we go to Howard? Howard, I see you have your hand raised.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for all the work. I'm inspired every time I see these updates.
Wonderful.
So, Temple Israel had a forum with U.S. Attorney of Minnesota Lugar about anti-Semitism, and his office has agreed to have a forum at the Masjid about Islamophobia. And the date that we have proposed is March 8th. It's right after the Friday sermon at Masjid Cuba, next to the Cedar Riverside Towers. I've invited the U.S. Attorney, A.G. Ellison, a rep from Omar's office, and council members from Minneapolis to reaffirm our commitment to protect our Muslim community from hate crimes and domestic terrorism.
Thanks so much for providing that update, Howard. Could you repeat one more time the location and date, and if there is a way for people to get more information?
I put the Facebook event in the chat.
Wonderful.
It's March 8th, Friday, March 8th at 2 p.m. after the Friday sermon. The Imam has agreed to invite the community to come to hear them speak about Islamophobia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you for sharing. Next, why don't we go to Dr. Fiol? Hi, Dr. Fiol. I see you want to.
Yeah, I had a question for Michelle when you mentioned can you hear me okay?
Yes.
The deed issuance by President Biden. Do you have any
Yes.
idea how would that impact our local Palestinian community? Any projections how that's going to fare out for people here who are already here or running away from the war zone? Any idea how that would project in our local Minnesota population?
Well, generally speaking, you know, as I always say, it's important for individuals who believe they may be impacted by immigration policy decisions to consult with an immigration attorney. But the point that the reason that we wanted to share, one of the reasons we wanted to share this update is so that individuals who are connected with Palestinian community members, who are themselves Palestinian community members, who have been in the United States as of, you know, on or before February 14th of 2024, understand that this is a possibility to obtain employment authorization through deferred and forced departure. So if folks are connected with individuals who entered on or before February 14th, it would be advisable for individuals to connect with an immigration attorney, can connect with a nonprofit immigration legal service organization to understand how this policy decision impacts them. That said, since it's an announcement only and has not been published in the Federal Register, until there are instructions on how to apply, a person can't actually apply yet. So more to come there.
Thank you very much. What I wanted to announce today is our clinic. We are scheduled February 24th. Miguel Fioso, you may know me, a coordinator for a group called FALAM, Frente Acción Latino Minnesota. And we're hosting with ASER and a group called Mi Casa, I believe. Maybe Rodolfo is on the group too, with Rodolfo Gutierrez. And we are gearing up for that event on Saturday, February 24th. I have a flyer I can put on. And the event is progressing. We're expecting a large number of folks, according to the estimates, over 250, mostly from Ecuador, I believe. Though this is all very preliminary. And we are staffing the clinic with physicians from the university where I am on and other university physicians. We have so far 3 physicians, including a pediatrician, who would be providing, because there's a lot of families with kids. We have 3 medical students, possibly 4. And what we're lacking right now is a nurse or 2 to provide some of the vital information. There's going to be vaccination available for COVID. There was not decided yet whether there be flu vaccination. We are needing oral care people, which we had at the last clinic we did at Dakota Lodge. So if anybody has connections with dental school, we access them, but they were pretty committed, as you can imagine. And also optometry. We need optometry support. We're trying to provide a private room for some of this. And the legal piece, it's up to you guys. You're deciding who would be, or is it going to be the community folks? We've had some advanced information from Jonathan Kirsch, who runs a mobile unit throughout the states, and they're up north right now servicing communities. I believe, I'm not sure about that. And they're reporting in some of this population associated with Central America, that he's seeing a number of disorders. So we're trying to prepare to have people around who can provide service, focus on this anxiety, depression, very high in the population, as expected, need for oral contraceptives and no access to medication, legal needs, lots of questions about that, skin disorders of tropical nature, and a lot of dental needs, especially in children with poor oral care, of course, all related to the situation. So I encourage you, any of you who wants to volunteer to help, just get in contact with me, Michelle, and look forward to people to come. Saturday, the 24th, 9 to 11, St. Michael's Church in Bloomington. St. Michael's Church in Bloomington. They have a large area where we're going to have tables for service. It's all totally free, and no questions asked. Thank you, Michelle, Eduardo, Edmundo. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Phil. And we have your flyer. We can also share with our notes from the meeting. So thank you very much. Any questions for anyone who's presented, or if anyone else would like to bring up a community event they'd like to share?
Or any other update, including stuff that folks may have put in the chat, but may want to kind of say out loud. And I see, Howard, you have your hand raised again. I'm not sure if that's left over or if that was another, or something else that you wanted to share. And while we're waiting, Jenny, thank you so much for putting the ILCM fact sheet, the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota fact sheet about cannabis law for non-citizens. We really appreciate that that information has been translated into multiple languages. Thank you very much for putting the link into the chat and also for sharing the Facebook Live. And it is very gratifying to know that there are transcripts of that YouTube video in multiple languages, including Hmong, Karen, and Somali. Thank you very much for that. Other updates that folks may want to share. Just in case, I wanted to read out the updates that were shared by Dr. Corey, and I'm looking for it. And Shalonda Clark from Civil Rights indicated that Civil Rights Department at the city will also be at the Community Connections Conference, and also shared that Civil Rights will be presenting on the Urban Scholars Program at the conference on Saturday. Is happy to connect with anyone. Let's see. And Elena, I see your hand raised. Go ahead while I'm looking for this other link. Please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elena. I'm director of nonprofit Russians Against War. And I wanted to say that I just got my official 501(c)(3) status from IRS. So, but I am now I need help finding grants and mentorship in that area because I'm completely new to this. I would like to help more political asylum seekers from Russia here in Minnesota. And so far, I've been doing everything on my own, like just kind of ad hoc help and trying to talk to people, and hopefully with my nonprofit status I can scale some processes and get money and help more people. So if anybody can share advice with me or information about that, I would be very grateful. I'm looking for anything like from legal help I can provide to them, to like housing or any other support for the Russian asylum seeking community here. Thank you. And thank you, Michelle and Edmundo, as always, for organizing this.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. It's wonderful. I'm just sticking a partnership engagement fund. It's an opportunity through the city of Minneapolis where interest form should be submitted by February 19th in case that's something that you'd like to explore.
Okay, could you throw it in the chat, the name?
I did.
Again?
I just did.
Oh, okay, thank
Yep.
you so much.
And also Michelle Garnett McKenzie mentioned that you should contact the, hang on a second, the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits for technical assistance as a new nonprofit. So I'm not sure if you're connecting with the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits, but that might be a good place to connect.
But thank you.
Yep.
Sounds something like a
Yeah, and so we have to thank Michelle Garnett McKenzie for that advice.
And I'll just read out this update from Dr. Corey, who is invited to present to the Jobs Committee at the state legislature on challenges, issues, strategies, opportunities for the BIPOC Alana workforce, and would appreciate insights from people on this call. Dr. Corey, I'm not sure if you're able to put your contact information in the chat in case people may want to follow up with you, and knowing the date too, where you will be presenting might be helpful for the group as well.
Michelle, I'm not sure if Dr. Corey is still on the call or in the meeting, but I also just quickly, Michelle and I did receive an announcement from Twin Cities Rise about a diesel technician career training program that's open to residents of Ramsey County. The start date is March 4th. The program will run through April 26th. It's a hybrid program, so you can attend both virtually and in person, I believe, at St. Paul College. It's limited to an age range of 18 to 30 only, and there's a learning and earn a bonus of $4,500. And it's run through Twin Cities Rise, and I put the link to more information about this program for training diesel technicians in the chat.
Super.
Anyone else wanting to make an announcement or talk about an upcoming event that their organization may be hosting?
I wanted to share one other thing as people are thinking about whether they have an update to share. There is a Afghan healthcare navigation toolkit that just came out. The entity that put it together is affiliated with, or isn't, let's see, the National Resource Center for Refugees, Immigrants, and Migrants, NRCRIM, at the University of Minnesota. So it's amazing we have this wonderful resource here in Minnesota. There's a healthcare navigation toolkit focusing on Afghans. I see some information specifically focused on Ukrainians as well. There's general information on a variety of different toolkits and trainings, including webinars. So this is really an amazing resource that we have here in Minnesota at the U of M, and invite people to explore the Afghan Healthcare Navigation Toolkit and then the website generally in the event that you find it useful. I'm also seeing other folks like Jenny added information about Propel Nonprofits in the chat. If anybody else has an update or something that they'd like to share with the group, please feel free to raise your hands or put it in the chat. As we're waiting, I just also want to share for folks who have participated and those who have not, City of Minneapolis and St. Paul co-facilitate with support from State of Minnesota Resettlement Programs Office, a bi-weekly welcoming Twin Cities meeting focused on collaborating and supporting efforts to foster a sense of belonging in newcomers to our Twin Cities area and beyond. The next meeting is next Wednesday, February 21st from 4:30 to 5:30. The invitation link to join is on the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs webpage. Also, OIRA Minneapolis hosts office hours in community at the Career Force Center, which is at 777 East Lake Street from 2 to 5 p.m. Next Wednesday is our next date. That's also on the OIRA events calendar. And I saw someone added something to the chat. If you'd like to, go ahead.
It was Jenny Stoll. Jenny, thank you for the Propel information for Elena. That's another organization you should check into, is Propel Minnesota. But thank you for also putting in information about the movie about the 4 immigrant attorneys working with asylum seekers that will be showing of the movie, I believe. Jenny, you want to just mention it real quickly?
Sure, thank you. It's called Las Abogadas, and it's going to be shown at the University of Minnesota Law School on February 28th at 5:30 to 8 p.m. And Charlene will actually be there. And Matthew, who's on this call, is also on the panel, along with another local immigration attorney, Steve Thal. So I've seen the trailer for the movie, and it's really inspiring. So if you go to the website, there's a link to the trailer here as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Elena, you have another announcement or question?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, announcement. If anybody is interested, on Monday, February 19, we're hosting an event at the Russian Museum of Art to write letters to political prisoners in Russia. That's something we do monthly, but this is going to commemorate 2 years of the war. And doing that in partnership with World Without Genocide organization and the Russian Museum of Art. And we're going to have a variety of people come there. You don't need to speak Russian to come. We translate all letters. There's going to be live music and tea and snacks. So if anybody's interested, you're welcome to come.
Thank you so much, Elena. That's wonderful. If people want to learn more about the event or reach out if they have any questions, are you a point of contact? Is there a link or a telephone number that you would suggest?
Yeah, I will drop my information. I also have an Instagram page where I make flyers about it too. So either way, I'll drop it in the chat, but I'd love to see anybody there.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Any other announcements or community updates? If not, Michelle, I think we can close out for today.
Yep, we'll hold it open for just a minute longer in case people want to pull any of the links. We'll do our best to get the links out quickly. But since some of these events are happening pretty soon, if you want to pull those links now, we'll just hold the meeting open for a minute longer. And give a reminder, our next Twin Cities Immigration Forum will be Thursday, March 14th from 4:30 to 6. Sometimes we reach out to you to ask if there are things that you want to share, but please don't hesitate to reach out to Edmundo and me if there is a topic that you would like to discuss, an update that you think would be important for the group, or just something that's on your minds that that you'd like to explore a little further. We're always receptive to bringing topics of interest and concern to the Twin Cities Immigration Forum. So thank you all for making this space the informative place that it is, that's due to you. And we're very grateful that you continue to participate in the Twin Cities Immigration Forum, and hope you have a wonderful evening, and hope to see folks if you're able to attend the Community Connections Conference this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good month. We'll see you in a month. Take care. Thank you to all our presenters as well.
Yep. Thank you.